This dialect donor was born outside of London. Her parents were from the south of England. She then grew up in the north of England, in Durham, and she went to college in Sheffield.
The rainbow passage. When the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act as a prism and form a rainbow. The rainbow is a division of white light into many beautiful colors. These take the shape of a long round arch with its path high above and its two ends apparently beyond the horizon. There is, according to legend, a boiling pot of gold at one end. People look, but no one ever finds it. When a man looks for something beyond his reach, his friends say he is looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Throughout the centuries, people have explained the rainbow in various ways. Some have accepted it as a miracle without physical explanation. To the Hebrews, it was a token that there would be no more universal floods. The Greeks used to imagine that it was a sign from the gods to foretell war or heavy rain. The Norsemen considered the rainbow as a bridge over which the gods passed from earth to their home in the sky. Others have tried to explain the phenomenon physically. Aristotle thought that the rainbow was caused by reflection of the sun's rays by the rain. Since then, physicists have found that it is not reflection, but refraction by the raindrops which causes the rainbows. Many complicated ideas about the rainbow have been formed. The difference in the rainbow depends considerably upon the size of the drops, and the width of the colored band increases as the size of the drops increases. The actual primary rainbow observed is said to be the effect of superimposition of a number of bows. If the red of the second bow falls upon the green of the first, the result is to give the bow with an abnormally wide yellow band, since red and green light, when mixed, form yellow. This is a very common type of bow, one showing mainly red and yellow with little or no green or blue. I was born near London in a place called Cheshunt. My mother was from also near London. My father was from South Wales, although he moved to London when he was probably about 18, and he went to a lot of trouble to lose his Welsh accent. So he also has a southern English accent. When I was about 2, we moved to the north of England, to County Durham, to a town named Darlington. And I grew up there. I lived there until I went to college. I went to Sheffield in South Yorkshire, and there I was among people from all over the country. So I probably didn't pick up much of a Sheffield accent. I'm not sure how much of a Durham accent I have, because I was heavily influenced by my parents' accents. There are some definite differences. In the south you would say a long A, Bath, and in the north you would say Bath with a short one, and I still use the long one, or something maybe in between. And then I moved to the US about 13 years ago. My husband was doing a postdoc in Durham. When I finished college, I moved back to Durham. I didn't actually live with my parents, but I was about 20 minutes away from them and worked for the county government. And he was doing his postdoc at the university there, and we met in a dance group. I say something in between, I think. And we got married in England, and then about a year later we moved to the US when he got a job here. So I've lived here about 13 years, and I don't know any British people living here, so all I ever hear now is American accents and Mexican accents and all the others that you tend to hear when you live around here.
Yeah. Think of something along those lines.
Well, I could talk about the holiday we just had, actually,
Okay.
which was a pretty good one. Okay, we just spent the whole of July traveling around Canada. I've never been to Canada before, so this was exciting. And my husband used to go on very long car camping trips when he was growing up. He was one of 5 children, but they still went camping every year, even when they were 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. I don't know how his mother did it. But anyway, he wanted to kind of relive that experience, and so we drove north. Well, actually, first we drove west, because we had to go to a family reunion in Michigan first, so we added about 600 miles to our trip. We drove to Michigan, and then we went north through Quebec into New Brunswick, and we stopped at a campground in a national park there. And then we went on to Prince Edward Island, and I've always loved the Anne of Green Gables books. I read them all and just loved them. So it was fun to go and see Green Gables, and they had park rangers dressed as Anne and Gilbert, and my children were able to play games with them. So that was a lot of fun. And then we drove into Newfoundland, and my husband's parents met there when they were both volunteering to teach school about 50 years ago. And John has always wanted to go there, and so we went up the west side. I refused to take the long ferry, the 16-hour ferry to the east side, because I don't do well on boats. So we took the 7-hour ferry to the west side of Newfoundland. We stopped at a national park, Rosemont, which is beautiful. It really is. The scenery is incredible. And then we drove all the way up to the northern tip of Newfoundland, where we could see icebergs, we could see whales, just standing in the bay we could see whales. We could see moose. They came wandering through the campground every evening. My daughter named one of them Billy Bob, that we saw every evening. He was like a teenage male moose. And so that was a lot of fun, and we went to the village where John's dad was teaching, a tiny little village, probably only about 50 or 60 houses, and that apparently is more than there used to be when he was there. And we called him from there, and he was very excited that we were there. And he told us the name of his landlord, and we actually saw his gravestone in the cemetery right there where we were. So that was fun. And then we went back down, all the way back down Newfoundland, that terrible ferry again. And we went through Nova Scotia, which is beautiful. We spent one night on Cape Breton Island camping. Carried on down back into New Brunswick to the Bay of Fundy, and we camped there. And the tent, which we knew was falling apart, the elastic had broken in one of the poles. We had to stack all the pieces up, and it had holes in it. We did not have rain while we were camping until the second last night, which became the last night. And the rain all came in, and we got very wet. And the kids thought it was hilariously funny. And the campsite was a lake, basically, and they made boats and floated them while we took down what was left of the tent and threw it away. And then we drove home, 2 days to drive home. And that was definitely an adventure, 4 weeks of Canada.